I didn't touch her phone. Not yet. The glow faded as the screen went dark, leaving only the faint imprint of Jason's name burned into my retinas. Sarah's breathing stayed steady to steady. Was she faking sleep? I rolled onto my side, watching the rise and fall of her chest under the thin cotton sheet. Her eyelids fluttered. Dreaming. Or pretending. The house creaked like it always did at night, the old pipes groaning, the wind rattling the loose shutter on the second-floor window. But tonight, the sounds felt sharper, like the house itself was whispering warnings. Wake up. Look closer. I slipped out of bed, careful not to jostle the mattress, and padded to the living room. Max lifted his head from his dog bed, ears twitching. Guard the fortress, I murmured, scratching behind his ears. He thumped his tail once, then dozed off again. The kitchen light was still on. Sarah's wine glass sat in the sink, half-rinsed, droplets clinging to the stem. I picked it up, sniffing. Not Merlot. Something sweeter, fruity, like the cheap sangria we'd drunk on our first date. She'd hated it. Tastes like cough syrup, she'd said, laughing as I chugged it anyway. I opened her laptop, hesitating. We'd agreed no passwords between us. Transparency, she'd called it. A joke now, maybe. The screen lit up with her desktop photos of us at Yellowstone, a Pinterest board of kitchen renovations, a folder labeled work_Jan-June 20-3. I clicked on the folder. Dozens of PDFs, client proposals, and copy drafts, spreadsheets. Nothing personal, nothing damning. Until I saw the file named Jason_NDA_final PDF. I double-clicked. A non-disclosure agreement. Signed by Sarah. Dated 3 weeks ago. The project. Confidential Marketing Initiative, codename, Phoenix. Jason's name appeared again, listed as the lead consultant. My stomach churned. Why an NDA for a marketing campaign? A notification pinged from her phone in the bedroom. I froze. Then, slowly, crept back down the hallway. Sarah hadn't moved. I eased the phone from under her pillow. The lock screen showed 2 new messages. Jason, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Don't forget. Sarah 1 minute ago. Won't. Can't wait. The words blurred as my hands shook. Can't wait. Not see you then. Not looking forward to it. Can't wait. The intimacy of it, the urgency, hit me like a gut punch. I slipped the phone back, my mind racing. Was this about work? Some late-night brainstorming session? But why the secrecy? Why the perfume? The lies about the broken wine bottle? And then I remembered Jason's cologne. Not the real estate agent's. The other one. The one she'd claimed was new. Sandalwood and something metallic, like blood and rain. I stumbled into the bathroom, flipping on the light. The medicine cabinet creaked open, revealing her toiletries, toothpaste, floss, birth control pills. I grabbed the blister pack, the last pill missing. But today was Tuesday. She should have taken it yesterday. Or had she? I flipped back through the rows. 2 pills left. 1 week's supply. My knees hit the tile floor. She'd lie about that too. The pregnancy test was buried in the back, hidden under a box of tampons. Unopened. Expired. Why would she need this? Unless she wasn't planning to come back. Unless tomorrow at 8 p.m. wasn't a meeting. Unless this was the beginning of the end. The pregnancy test trembled in my hand like a live wire. Expired, yes, but still usable. Still telling. I'd bought one for Sarah 2 years ago when we'd started trying. She'd laughed it off, saying we needed more data. We never talked about it again. I tore open the box. Inside, the test stick looked innocent enough, a white plastic wand with a single blue line etched into the window. A second line would mean, what? Confirmation. Betrayal. A child with someone else's eyes. My throat tightened. I flushed the test down the toilet anyway. Proof, if there ever was an investigation. If anyone ever asked. Back in the bedroom, Sarah stirred, rolling onto her side. Her back faced me, shoulders rising and falling in a rhythm that no longer felt like home. I slipped under the covers, staring at the ceiling. The house creaked again, louder this time. Or was it my imagination? Memories clawed their way to the surface. Our first apartment, a cramped studio with peeling wallpaper and a shower that scolded you if you breathed wrong. Sarah had painted the walls butter yellow, humming along to Joni Mitchell while I assembled IKEA furniture. This is ours, she'd said, kissing my temple. Forever. Forever. The word curdled in my mouth. At 2:14 a.m., Sarah's phone buzzed again. I didn't move, feigning sleep as she reached for it. Her fingers brushed mine, cold, always cold lately. She slid out of bed, padding to the hallway. The muffled click of the bathroom door wasn't fooling anyone. I counted to 10, then crept after her. The door was ajar. Through the crack, I saw her hunched over the sink, shirt pulled up to her ribs, a second pregnancy test clutched in her hand. A sob caught in her throat. Two blue lines glared back at her. She sank to her knees, the test clattering into the sink. Her hands flew to her stomach, cradling it like it might vanish. A laugh bubbled out of her, wild, disbelieving. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God." I stood frozen in the hallway, the cold tar biting into my bare feet. My pulse roared in my ears. She was pregnant. With his child. The realization hit me like a sledgehammer. Not ours, his. Jason's. Whoever he really was. Sarah stood abruptly, yanking open the medicine cabinet. She refilled through bottles: Advil, allergy meds, prenatal vitamins. Wait, prenatal vitamins. I'd never seen those before. When had she started taking them? She grabbed a bottle, shook 2 pills into her palm, and swallowed them dry. Then she stared at her reflection, her face hardening into something I didn't recognize. Determination, fear, resignation. "Sarah." My voice cracked. She whirled, gasping. The bottle slipped from her hand, rolling across the floor. "I thought you were asleep," she stammered. I stepped into the bathroom, eyes locked on the pregnancy test still glowing on the sink. "What is this?" She didn't answer, just stared at the floor like it might swallow her. "Is it his?" The words tore out of me, raw and jagged. Her head snapped up. "What?" "Jason. Is it his?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. I grabbed the test, shoving it under her nose. "Tell me." "Stop it." She recoiled, tears spilling over. "You don't understand. Then make me understand." She backed into the wall, trembling. It's not what you think." "Oh." I laughed, bitter and loud. "Because it looks like you're carrying another man's baby, Sarah. That's what I see." She shook her head violently. No, it's not like that. I wanted this. I made this happen." The confession hung in the air like smoke. "What?" My voice dropped to a whisper. She slid down the wall, curling into herself. "I stopped taking the pill months ago. I wanted a baby. Our baby." Her voice broke. "But you were always so distracted, busy. We hadn't tried in weeks. I needed something to change. Something to force us to remember how much we wanted this." I stared at her, the pieces refusing to fit. "So you lied to me. You lied about the wine bottle, about Jason, about the perfume." She flinched. I panicked. "When you walked in and saw him here," she choked back a sob. "I didn't know how to explain. And then Jason. He helped me. He listened. Helped you how, Sarah? My jaw clenched. By screwing you in our kitchen while I was at work. No. She lunged for my hands. It wasn't like that. We kissed once. It was stupid. I regretted it the second it happened. But when I told him about the baby, he said he'd help me. That he'd make sure you didn't lose everything. Lose everything. My laugh was hysterical. You think I'm the one who's going to lose everything? She reached for the pregnancy test, but I snatched it away. Sarah, I said slowly, if this is mine, if this is our baby. I couldn't finish the sentence. Her eyes met mine, wet and wide. It is, she whispered. I swear to God, it is. We sat on the bathroom floor until dawn, the space between us wider than the Grand Canyon. She talked. I listened. Jason wasn't her lover. He was her OGYN. The perfume. A gift from him after she'd confessed her pregnancy fears. The broken wine bottle. A clumsy accident. The NDA. For a surprise marketing campaign, she'd begged him to help with something to reignite our spark. A vacation. A puppy. A house renovation. All lies. Except one. She'd kissed Jason once. And she'd let him hold her when she cried about me. About us. When the sun rose, she fell asleep against my shoulder, exhausted by her own deceit. I carried her to bed, tucking her under the sheets like a stranger. Then I went to the garage. The toolbox sat where I'd left it last week, a half-finished birdhouse for Max's birthday. I pried open the lid, fingers closing around the hunting knife I'd bought after the neighborhood break-in. The blade gleamed in the dim light, sharp enough to split hair. I slid it into a plastic bag, then into the trash can beneath 3 empty cereal boxes and yesterday's newspaper. Proof, if there ever was an investigation. If anyone ever asked. The days blurred into a haze of forced smiles and silent wars. Sarah moved through the house like a ghost, her laughter now a brittle echo of itself. She'd started locking the bathroom door at night. I'd catch her texting with her back turned, thumb flying across the screen, only to freeze when I entered the room. Once, I found her staring at the pregnancy test results again, this time. 3 sticks lined up on the counter like trophies. All positive. Just making sure, she'd said, shrugging. You know, for accuracy. I didn't respond. My throat felt full of glass. 3 days later Jason called. It was 7:02 a.m., the phone buzzing on the kitchen counter as I poured coffee. Sarah's name glowed on the screen, but I answered anyway. Hey, man. Jason's voice crackled through the receiver, easy and familiar. Sarah said you're cool with the renovation stuff. I'll need access to the garage this afternoon to measure for the new cabinets. Renovation. Sarah had never mentioned it. Sure, I said, voice flat. Whatever she says. He paused. You good? I smiled, cold and slow. Never better. That afternoon Jason arrived in his white Lexus, dressed in khakis and a crisp button-down. No contractor's gear. No tape measure. Just a leather portfolio tucked under his arm. Hey, he said, flashing a grin as I opened the garage door. Sarah said you're letting me borrow your toolbox. Need a screwdriver for the blueprints. The toolbox. The knife. I stepped aside, watching him kneel beside the metal chest. He rummaged through wrenches and nails, finally pulling out a Phillips head. She's got some big plans, huh? He stood, wiping his hands on his pants. Said you're not into surprises. That true? I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Depends on the surprise. He laughed a smooth, practiced sound and clapped my shoulder. This one's a good one. Promise. As he walks back to his car, I noticed the portfolio. No blueprints. Just a manila envelope labeled Confidential, Phoenix Initiative. The same project from Sarah's NDA. That night Sarah came home late, her hair damp from rain. She smelled like Jason's cologne again. Long day at the office, she said, peeling off her coat. Jason's been relentless with the campaign prep. I watched her from the couch, the glow of the TV casting shadows across her face. He stopped by this afternoon for the renovation. Her fingers froze on the buttons of her blouse. Oh, did he get what he needed? The screwdriver, yeah. But he left the portfolio in the garage. She paled. Portfolio? The one labeled Phoenix Initiative. I let the words hang. Funny. I thought that was your marketing project. She swallowed hard. It is. He's just helping me organize the files by stealing my screwdriver. She flinched. It's not like that. Then what's it like, Sarah? I stood, closing the distance between us. Why does he have a key to our garage? Why does he smell like our soap? Why do you lock the bathroom door when he texts you? Her eyes welled up. You're imagining things? Am I? I pulled her phone from my pocket, the one I'd taken from her purse earlier. Or is this why you've been deleting your messages? She lunged for it, but I held it high, swiping open the chat. Jason, can't wait to hold you tonight. He suspects nothing. Sarah, I know. Poor thing thinks we're just renovating. Jason, after tonight, he'll be gone. Just us? Her breath hitched. Please. Gone. I spat. What does that mean? Gone. She backed away, trembling. It's not what you think. Then explain. The doorbell rang. We both froze. Jason stood on the porch, smiling. Hey, Sarah. Ready too. His eyes flicked to mine, and the smile died. Come in, I said, stepping aside. He hesitated. Please, I added, sweetly. Jason stepped inside, his smile brittle, eyes darting between Sarah and me. He held up the portfolio like a shield. Hey, man, just here to finalize the plans. Sarah's hand flew to her stomach, fingers digging into the fabric of her shirt. Jason, please, cut the act, I snapped, slamming the door behind him. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot. Max barked from the backyard, claws scratching at the sliding glass door. Jason's jaw tightened. What's going on? You tell me. I tossed Sarah's phone at his chest. He fumbled it, the screen lighting up with the incriminating messages. His face went still. Then, slowly, he met my gaze. This isn't what it looks like. Oh. I took a step closer, my voice low and sharp. Then why don't you explain the Phoenix Initiative? Or the part where you tell my wife I'll be gone tonight? Sarah whimpered. Mark, please, shut up. Jason hissed, and the venom in his voice froze her mid-step. I lunged, grabbing him by the collar. You don't talk to her like that. He didn't flinch, just stared at me, calm as a surgeon. You think you're the victim here. He laughed, cold and hollow. You've been dead for years, buddy. Sarah's just helping you cross over. The words hit like a punch to the gut. What? Sarah sobbed, sinking onto the couch. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. Jason cut in, shrugging out of my grip. He smoothed his shirt, then opened the portfolio. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Me at the grocery store. Me jogging past the elementary school. Me arguing with Sarah in the driveway. My face twisted in rage. You've been following me. My voice cracked. Jason smirked. Not me. Sarah. She shook her head violently, tears streaking her cheeks. No, 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 liar. His tone was icy. You wanted this. You begged me to help you rewrite your life. And now you're getting cold feet. Rewrite her life. The phrase slithered through my brain, connecting dots I hadn't dared to link. The pregnancy, the lies, the perfume. You're faking the baby, I whispered. Sarah's head snapped up. What? You're not pregnant, I said, louder now, the realization sharpening into fury. You stole my DNA from the trash, took those tests with someone else's pee, all to make me look unstable, to make me disposable. Jason's grin widened. Smart man. Too bad you're too late. That night the confrontation dissolved into chaos. Sarah screamed. Jason reached into his jacket again, but I was faster. I slammed the fireplace poker into his ribs, the crunch of bone sweet and satisfying. He crumpled, gasping, as Sarah clawed at my arms, pleading for mercy. Mercy. I'd given her mercy when I let her lie, when I ignored the scent of his cologne on her skin, when I pretended her pregnancy was real. No more. I dragged Jason to the garage, ignoring his wheezes, the blood pooling on the concrete. Sarah followed, trembling, as I shoved him into the trunk of his own Lexus. You'll thank me later, I hissed at her, slamming the lid shut. She stared at me, eyes wide and empty. What are you going to do? I smiled. What you should have done a long time ago. The rain started at midnight. A slow, steady drizzle that blurred the windshield into a watercolor smear. Jason's Lexus idled in the garage, its trunk heavy with secrets. I stood beside it, staring at the bloodstains on the concrete, dark, jagged constellations that told a story I wasn't ready to read. Sarah hovered in the doorway, her face pale as a ghost's. Where are you taking him? She whispered. I didn't answer. My hands were busy tightening the straps on the tarp I'd wrapped around Jason's unconscious body. He'd passed out from the pain or maybe the fear halfway through the drive to the woods. Either way, he was quiet now. Quiet was good. Quiet meant control. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. Mark, please. This isn't you. You're not like this. I turned to her, my smile sharp enough to cut glass. You don't know who I am. Her eyes flicked to the gun in my waistband, the one I'd taken from Jason's jacket after he'd tried to pull it on me. The metal was still warm. You think he's going to save you? I gestured to the trunk. He's already dead, Sarah. Just doesn't know it yet. She flinched but didn't move. Go inside, I ordered. Wait for me. And if I don't? I stepped into her space, close enough to smell the fear under her perfume. Then you'll see what I'm capable of. She retreated, shoulders hunched, like a kicked dog. 1 hour later, the woods swallowed the car whole. Pines clawed at the roof as I drove deeper into the dark, the headlights barely cutting through the mist. Jason groaned in the trunk, his moans blending with the creak of trees. I'd chosen this spot weeks ago, a forgotten logging trail, miles from the nearest town. No cell signal, no witnesses. I parked beside a rusted pickup truck, the last relic of some long-dead hunter, and popped the trunk. Jason's eyes fluttered open, glazed and unfocused. Blood crusted his temple where I'd hit him with the poker. Hey, I said, slapping his cheek. Wake up. He groaned, trying to sit. The zip ties bit into his wrists. Where? His voice rasped like broken gravel. I smiled. Home. 3 hours later, the fire crackled as Jason shivered on the floor of the abandoned cabin. I'd dragged him inside an hour ago, bound his ankles to the radiator with more zip ties, and left him to rot. The place smelled like mildew and regret, a perfect setting for confessions. He coughed, spitting blood onto the warped floorboards. You're crazy. I crouched beside him, holding up Sarah's phone. The screen glowed with their messages. Can't wait to hold you tonight. He suspects nothing. You knew, I said softly. Knew she'd chosen you. So why the games? Why the lies? Jason laughed, a wet, wheezing sound. You really think she chose me? He shook his head. She's playing you, man. Always has been. I grabbed his collar, yanking him upright. Don't. She's not pregnant, he spat. She never was. We needed you out of the way to make the insurance payout clean. The words hit like a sledgehammer. Insurance. My voice cracked. He grinned, blooded teeth gleaming. Oh, you didn't know. Sarah's drowning in debt. Gambling. Bad investments. She needed a tragic accident. Husband dies in a fire. Life insurance pays off the loans. Baby gets a new dad. My stomach twisted. Liar. Check her laptop, he sneered. Folder labeled legacy plan. All there. Contracts. Photos. Even a fake ultrasound. I let him fall back to the floor, my mind racing. Sarah. My Sarah. How much of this was true? Back home, Sarah was asleep when I returned, the sheets tangled around her legs. I crept into the study, her laptop glowing on the desk. The folder Jason mentioned stared back at me. Legacy plan. Inside were documents I'd never seen: life insurance policies, power of attorney forms, even a will naming Sarah as sole beneficiary. Attached files included doctored photos of us arguing, headlines about spousal abuse, and a PDF titled Accidental Fire Investigation Report DRAFT. The ultrasound was there too. A fake, pixelated and generic. She'd planned this for months. I closed the laptop, my hands trembling. In the bedroom, Sarah stirred, rolling onto her side. Her stomach looked flat under the sheets. No baby. No miracle. Just a lie stitched into skin. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching her sleep. Did she love me once? Or was I always just a checkmark on her ledger? The cabin reeked of mildew and death. Jason hung from the ceiling beams, wrists bound with frayed rope, his feet barely grazing the warped floorboards. I'd left him like that for hours, just watching the panic bloom in his eyes. Please, he rasped, voice hoarse from screaming. I'll tell you everything, just stop. I leaned against the wall, sharpening my hunting knife on a whetstone. The blade hissed like a serpent. Too late for deals, Jason? He thrashed, the rope cutting deeper into his skin. You don't get it, man. She's got a hit list. You're not the first. She's done this before. I froze. Liar. Check her email. His breath came in ragged bursts. Under clients. Names. Photos. Stories. She grooms them rich guys, desperate for love. Marries 'em. Bleeds 'em dry. Then poof, they vanish. I wanted to laugh, to spit in his face, but the seed of doubt was already rotting in my gut. Sarah. My Sarah. How many others had she loved? How many others had she killed? Back home she was awake when I returned, sitting at the kitchen table with a mug of tea. Her eyes flicked to my hands still stained with Jason's blood. You didn't kill him, she said, more statement than question. I didn't answer, just stared at her, waiting for the cracks to show. She sipped her tea. He told you, didn't he? My pulse spiked. Told me what? That I'm not normal. She set the mug down, fingers tracing the rim. That I've done this before. The admission hit like a sledgehammer. How many? She hesitated. I grabbed her wrist, hard enough to bruise. How many? Her voice was calm. 3. 3. 3 husbands. 3 funerals. 3 lies. I released her, staggering back. Why? She stood slowly, palms flat on the table. Because I can. Her eyes met mine, cold and unblinking. Because men like you always think they're the exception, the one who'll fix me. But you're all the same weak. predictable, disposable. The words slithered under my skin, venomous and true. And Jason, I forced out. Her lips curled. He was next. The revelation. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I rifled through drawers, cabinets, the hidden compartment under the attic stairs. Sarah watched from the couch, sipping wine like this was normal, like she wasn't unraveling in front of me. I found the box at dawn. Inside were photos, dozens of them, men of every age, every race, every background, all smiling, all dead. And there, tucked beneath the stack, was a file labeled Mark, Phase 3. Inside, a fake ultrasound, a funeral program with my name, and a contract signed by Sarah and Jason. Clause 7. In the event of accidental death, spouse shall receive $2.5 million life insurance payout, plus full ownership of marital assets. I laughed, the sound hollow and broken. You were going to burn the house down with me inside. She didn't flinch. You weren't supposed to find Jason, or the cabin, or any of it. So this is where I beg for mercy. My voice was ice. No. She stepped closer, fingers brushing my jaw. This is where you realize you're just like me. Jason's and I drove to the cabin at sunrise, the box of photos clutched in my lap. Jason hung exactly where I'd left him, his head lolling forward like a broken puppet. Wake up, I barked, slapping his cheek. He groaned, eyes fluttering open. Did you? Check her emails. I tossed the box at his feet. I know what she is. His laugh was wet and wheezing. Then you know she never stopped. I nodded slowly. That's why I'm ending this. His smile faded. Wait, what? I pulled the knife from my belt, the blade gleaming in the morning light. You wanted to play God with my life. Let's see how you like being the sacrifice. His screams echoed through the woods as I carved his confession into his chest letter by letter, proof by proof. When he finally stopped twitching, I lit the cabin on fire. Let the insurance company sort out the rest. Home again. Sarah was waiting on the porch when I returned, her face lit by the rising sun. She smiled as I approached, lips parted in a kiss that never came. Well? She asked. I wiped the blood off my hands, staring into her empty eyes. He's gone. Her smile widened. Good. I stepped aside, revealing the duffel bag in my hand, the one I'd packed for her. You're leaving tonight. Her brow furrowed. What? Took the liberty of booking your flight. I tossed the bag at her feet. Panama. One way. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You think I'll just disappear? No. I pulled the gun from my waistband, leveling it at her chest. I think you'll die like the rest of them. Her smile didn't fade. Then do it? I hesitated. And in that second, she lunged. Sarah's hands closed around my wrist, her nails digging into my skin as she twisted the gun toward her own chest. Do it, she hissed, eyes blazing. Prove you're just like me. I wrenched free, slamming her against the wall. The gun clattered to the floor, skidding under the couch. She laughed, a jagged, unhinged sound as she kneed me in the gut. I doubled over, gasping, and she bolted for the stairs. Max barked wildly from the backyard, sensing the storm. I chased her, boots pounding against the creaking steps. She reached the attic first, slamming the door and throwing the lock. I rammed my shoulder into it, once, twice, before it gave way with a splintering crack. The attic was dim, lit only by the amber glow of the street lamp outside. Dust motes swirled in the air like ghosts. Sarah stood in front of the boarded-up window, holding a crowbar. Her face was flushed, her hair wild. You think you're smarter than me, she spat. That you've outplayed me. I edged forward, hands raised. I know you know. She swung the crowbar, missing my head by inches. You knew what I let you see. The trap she swung again. I ducked, grabbing her ankle and yanking her off balance. She fell hard, the crowbar clattering to the floorboards. Before she could scramble up, I pinned her wrists, straddling her hips. You're not getting away, I growled. Her lips curled. I already did. A click echoed beneath us. The floor gave way. We plunged into darkness, falling through the attic trapdoor I'd rigged weeks ago. The drop wasn't fatal, just enough to disorient. We landed in a heap of limbs and curses, the smell of gasoline sharp in the air. Sarah groaned, blood trickling from her temple. I staggered to my feet, yanking her up with me. The room was small, concrete-walled, with a single flickering bulb overhead. A gas canister sat in the corner, connected to a timer. Her eyes widened. You built this for you, I finished, shoving her toward the center of the room. Funny thing about insurance policies, they don't pay out if the spouse dies under suspicious circumstances. I pulled a key from my pocket, dangling it in front of her. But if you die in a gas explosion, clean slate, just a tragic accident. She lunged, but I slammed the door shut, twisting the deadbolt. Through the narrow window, I saw her pounding on the steel, screaming curses. I stepped back, pulling out my phone. The timer read 0 hours 4 minutes and 59 seconds. The fire. This time I left the house as the sirens wailed in the distance. Neighbors must have smelled the gas, or heard the crash. Either way, they'd arrived too late. I stood at the end of the driveway, watching flames devour the attic. Sarah's silhouette thrashed behind the window, her mouth moving in silent screams. Let them think she was the victim. Let them believe I was the one who vanished. The fire department arrived, hoses hissing as water met inferno. A firefighter grabbed my arm. You okay, sir? You live here. I shook my head, wiping soot from my face. Just visiting my sister. She was inside. He nodded, sympathy in his eyes. We'll do what we can. I walked away before the roof collapsed. Epilogue. Ashes in the wind. They found her bones 3 days later, burned beyond recognition. The gas leak was ruled an accident. Faulty pipes, they said. The insurance paid out. The money funneled into a trust for Sarah's orphan child. I donated the house to charity, moved to Oregon, changed my name. Sometimes I drive past the ruins. The grass has grown back, green and hungry. Max still follows me, tail wagging. He doesn't know what happened, doesn't care, but I do. I'll always know.